Hi angels and welcome. I'm your host Lisa Everding, founder of Earthy Angels, and I'm on a mission to empower women to live authentically and to take exquisite care of themselves. You can find us on earthyangels.com or head over to our show notes to follow us on socials. You know, girls, one of the biggest reasons I do the inner work is for my children. It's definitely for myself. It's also for my children. And I'm going to share with you in today's episode a conversation that played out with my daughter that afterwards I sat back and I went, thank goodness I work on myself. Thank goodness I'm open to learning and growing because I'm seeing it play out in future generations. And I'm so grateful I've taken the time to work on me. So let's dive in, girls. Good morning, angels. I wanted to share with you a conversation that I had with my daughter. This is kind of how I like to roll. I am not one to maybe sit down and batch a whole heap of content and just record one after the other. I like to share things intuitively when it comes up. This is part of my human design. I'm a responding generator. So I respond to situations or to events or to something that someone has said, and then I will share on it, like at the studio or in my socials or just in conversations with family and friends. So I respond to what happens and then I get inspired to share. So that's how I like to roll. So if things come up, sometimes I think I need to share that with the girls, or, you know, maybe I can jump on here and have a chat with you guys. And it feels more authentic to me. And from feedback that I've always had from members in my community, they're like, I love your stories. I love what you share. Keep them coming. So, and it just feels in alignment and it feels in flow for me rather than trying to force something or hit a certain number of, posts or episodes or something every single week. I like to just share with that inspiration that flows through me. So what happened was Riley had to go and get a blood test, and I have been taking her for blood tests since she was a baby. She was born with a thyroid condition, and so this is something that we have experienced for like 19 years now, and she still doesn't love them, which is understandable. And I said to her, do you want me to come with you? And she said, no, it's okay, Callum's coming with me. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's okay, babe. I'm really happy about that. But you know, I'm here if you need me. You know, if anything, if he's busy with work, I can be there. And that's something that we go through as a mum. We have all these different journeys, you know, like when they first go to school, when they go into transition into high school, when they start to, you know, leave the nest a little bit. I'm not quite there yet. But it's you know, they're 19 and 17 now. And so I just share the real journey with you guys of how it unfolds and how it feels from a mother's perspective. And I was a little bit like, you know, I'm happy she's got that support, but she doesn't need me as much anymore. And just juggling that, which is fine. And Brock got his license a few months ago as well. So it's all kind of, they're really independent now, really independent. I don't have to do school run anymore, which is great. I'm not complaining about that, but also just transitioning into that next phase of your life has the emotional, just the emotions that you have to, I guess, process along the way as well. So I was already, you know, I was kind of processing that, and which is fine. I'm happy that she's got the most amazing support, and he treats her like an absolute, he just takes the best care of her, and I adore him. So that was great. So anyway, she's gone for her blood test, and I messaged her and said, I wasn't sure. Let me give you the context. Actually, Riley said to me, she goes, I said to her, am I okay to share this in a podcast episode with what unfolded? And she said, yeah, that's fine, but make sure you give them the context, otherwise it won't make sense. So I got her okay. She's more than happy for me to share. So because she's been going for blood tests for such a long time, sometimes she would get maybe not have the best experience with a collector, and it might have been really painful, or it took them a couple of times to get a vein. And she will find this blood collector lady that she will love, and we'll just keep going back to that same one. We had one and we followed her from a few different local places, tracked her down and followed her, and then she's had this last lady, Sue, for the last few years, and she's just absolutely loved her. And she said, can you phone up and see if Sue's on? And I did, and I didn't get any response. They were obviously busy, so I wasn't sure. So anyway, I didn't say anything to Riley. She went with Callum to go and get her blood test, and I messaged her and said, how did you go? And she messaged me back. I'll read out the messages. And she said, I like the lady that did it. She's here Monday to Friday, but Sue left. Tear emoji. And I said, I knew Sue left. She goes, why didn't you tell me? And I said to her, nobody told me. I didn't end up getting a hold of them. I said, nobody told me. I just intuitively knew. Because what happened when I phoned them, I went to phone them, my intuition just kicked in. And actually, this is in the message I told Riley. So let me continue. I said, I knew Sue left. She goes, why didn't you tell me? And I said, nobody told me. I just intuitively knew. Yesterday, she goes, And I said to her, when I called yesterday, a voice popped in my head and said, Sue's left. I was hoping for you it wasn't right, but my gut knew. And Riley goes, do you want to know something? And I wrote back, you knew too, hey. She goes, yep. I had a feeling she left, but I kept telling myself she would be there for the sake of my sanity. And I said to her, there's a lesson to trust your feeling. Trust your green heart emoji over your mind emoji. I said to her, your heart emoji, instincts knew, but you kept telling yourself in your mind, don't be true. Always listen to and follow your heart because you're wise, my darling. I love you. How are you feeling? And then she come back and we chatted about it, and she said, and it's funny actually, I said to Callum before they went for the blood test that morning, I said to Callum, Sue might not be there. There might be somebody new, but that's going to be life. Like, she's going to have to deal with new people because, people are always coming and going in jobs, and she's going to get to a point where there will be different people, and she just has to just help her trust that this new person is going to be great. And she come home and she said, she was really good, Mum. I was sad that Sue's not there and it made me really nervous, but she was really good. I loved her. And then I said to her, that's so great that, I'm seeing you really trust your intuition. I'm seeing you, well, not necessarily trust yet, but seeing your intuition pop up, and you're questioning it, and you're kind of having this little debate between your head and your heart. Like, this is normal. But I've always said to them, trust your heart from a long time. And the more I learned to develop and trust in my intuition, the more that I have, I guess, spoke a lot more about it in the car with them, or when we're having chats at home, how important it is to listen to your gut. And there's been instances as they have gotten older in their teenage years, I've really wanted to instill that in them, because Tom and I have done a lot of personal development for a very long time, like since our late 20s. And we have really understood the power of association, and not just for ourselves in the power of for our work or who we hang around, but also for our kids, because, we've had this, everything that we have understood is you become who you hang around, they say things like you can measure your wealth by your 5 closest friends, or you become like your 5 closest friends. So we've really understood the power in association. And so we've kind of instilled this in the kids from a young age. Be mindful of who you hang around. If someone doesn't feel good for you in your gut, it's okay to not spend that much time with them. And even from a young age, sometimes the kids would come home and Riley would say to me, Mum, I don't know if this person's a good influence on me. This might have been about grade 6 or 7 or something. And I'm like, that's okay. You just don't need to spend as much time with them. Listen to your gut. And just teaching them from a young age to be mindful of who they hang around, how they make them feel, how they influence them, because it's easy for kids in those teenage years, or even adults. It's easy for all of us to be maybe led astray, or maybe doubt on ourselves, or maybe have our self-worth pulled down because of who you're hanging around. So it's something, the power of association is something that we've always been mindful of, but also just learning the kids. I never wanted to kind of be that parent all the time. Don't hang around this person. Don't hang around that. We need to teach them to trust in themselves and their own guidance and their own judgment, so that they can strengthen it. So when they become older teenagers, when they become adults, and they're going out into the real world, they can use their internal guidance system and trust in themselves rather what everybody else has said. And we've said to them, trust in your gut over your friends. And as much as we love and adore their friends, we just want them to develop their own intuition and their own instincts and their own gut feeling within themselves, rather than what everybody else is saying or everybody else is doing or thinking. Just learning to trust in themselves. And there's been times that the kids have rung us, where Riley's rung me, and she's been out with a group of people that she knows, and she's rung me and said, they're going to do this, I don't want to, can you come pick me up? And I'm like, yep, babe, I'm right there, and we'll go and pick them up. And she's got the courage to say, no, I don't want to do that. And she's a strong, headstrong girl, and trust me, we had our battles growing up. Having two headstrong women in the house, Tom would walk in sometimes and we're like yelling, and he's like, oh my God. And because we've got these, she's quite a strong girl as well, which is definitely how I raised her. But she has developed the confidence to go, that's not right for me. I'm not going to do that. And we've always said to them, you can come to us about anything, because we don't want them to be so afraid that I can't open up and ask mum and dad this because I'm going to get in trouble. So there's been times where, they might have told us things, and we're like trying to keep a straight face and like dying on the inside, but keeping a straight face so that they will talk to us, and then we'll try and guide them through the situation. We always wanted them to come to us if they're stuck, right? And we're not idiots. We know they don't tell us absolutely everything. No kid does. I didn't tell my parents everything, as I'm sure you didn't, and I know our kids aren't going to as well. But overall, we just want them to know that they can come to us if they're stuck in a situation that doesn't feel good in their gut, or they just don't want to be there anymore, or they can call on us at any time. So I have had instances where we have got a phone call, this doesn't feel quite right, or I don't want to do this, or I'm just tired, or whatever, can you come pick me up? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm really happy about that. And I'm really happy that you're doing what feels right for you, because it's so hard, whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult. We constantly have this debate over, do I follow my heart, or do I go out and do what my friends are doing or what others are doing out of maybe peer influence, maybe out of FOMO, this fear of missing out, maybe this wanting to fit in? And we're all going to experience that at times, but we need to help our kids strengthen their intuition. And this is not something that they really get taught in school. It's not something that I guess is mainstream in the education system, or mainstream maybe what was taught from our generations as, parents, grandparents, that's been passed through. But it's something that I believe is really important, because your intuition is like this inbuilt navigation system that will guide you through life. It will help open you up to opportunities, or maybe it will steer clear of obstacles, when you start to learn to develop it and start to trust in it. It's a really important ability to have in yourself. And so I think it's something that's really important to instill in our kids. And even when they were younger and making decisions, and trust me, we don't, we're not perfect parents. I'm just speaking from experience. We've done a lot of things wrong, or maybe things right, or everything is even, I don't like to look at it as right or wrong, or making mistakes. It's an experience, right? It's just an experience that you learn from. But when the kids were growing up, we would chat with them. If they come to us and they wanted help or an answer or a decision, we would kind of give them that little bit of guidance and go, well, what do you think? Instead of saying, nope, don't do that. And trust me, there's still times I'm like, nope, don't do that. But overall, what do you think? What do you think you should do? What does your gut tell you to do? What feels right for you? And allow them to make mistakes and allow them to just feel out what happens if I follow my gut, what happens if I go against my gut. And they're going to make mistakes and they're going to do things where I go, I wish I had done that differently, but that's life. Like, that's life experience. They're not perfect. They're not supposed to be perfect. Neither are we. I had an instance just recently where Brock was in trouble at school for a couple of things, and not bad things, but he was in trouble at school. And I said to him, mate, like, why did you do that? I can't even remember what it was. It was something about being, it might have been speaking out in class or doing silly things with his friends in class, and it's like disruption. And I said to him, why did you do that? Like, you've already been in trouble with the school for your haircut. We don't want to deal with this as well. And that's a whole other topic. Like, we really try and teach the kids to, it's good to follow certain rules for your safety and like obviously certain moral rules and things like that. But I kind of also don't want them to conform to being perfect in every single area of their life. I like them taking a few risks. I like them having that little bit of spunk. I like them putting themselves out of their comfort zone, because that's where growth comes from. If you conform in this little box and do what everybody else is doing and be perfect all the time and have to get, straight A's all the time and put this pressure on yourself to do everything right to please other people, there's no growth in that for the soul and for the individual. So we're always kind of teaching them to really be themselves and explore, being themselves, take a few little risks here and there, get out of their comfort zone. But yeah, we just had one of those periods with Brock where he was in trouble with it, just for a couple of things, not bad things, and I said to him, mate, like, why did you do that? And he goes, it's funny, Mum. He said, I had this feeling I probably shouldn't do that, but then I just couldn't help myself and I did it anyway. I'm like, mate, really? Like, this okay, but listen to your gut. Like, next time if that voice kicks into your head and says, I probably shouldn't do that, it's going to lead to this consequence. Pay attention and actually listen to it, rather than, wanting to be funny or wanting to, whatever the situation was. Listen to your gut is the moral of this story. He goes, I know, I should have. But anyway, that's what happened. I said, that's cool, learn from it. And, even when they've been driving and we've been chatting about, like, I love getting in the car with the kids because they can't go anywhere. Like, it's the best. You can just talk to them about things and they can't escape out the car door. And we would have lots of chats in the car about different scenarios and following their gut and listening to their intuition. And, and sometimes they give me a hard time. Sometimes they're like, oh my God, I don't want the lesson. I just want you to shut up and listen. And I'm like, okay, I needed to hear that. Or sometimes they would say things like, I'd be like, be careful of this. If you're doing this, X could happen. And they'd be like, oh my God, Mum, don't put it out there. Don't put it out there. And I'm like, I know, I shouldn't have said that. So I know that things that I inadvertently teach them, they're mindful. Like, they're mindful of the power of their thought. They're mindful of the power of the energy of what they put into things, but they still give me a hard time and they're still like, oh my God, Mum, I don't want to hear that. Which is fine. But it's in how we show up for them every day. It's in our actions. It's in our beliefs. It's in our mindset. It's in our thought process. It's not so much what we necessarily say and teach them and say to them all the time. They get the energy and they pick up on the energy and the essence of how we are in ourselves, how we act, how we show up in the world. They pick up on that. So by us, I guess, talking around home or talking in just little day-to-day conversations, whether it's me and Tom talking or they hear me talking to somebody else, or they pick up on things anyway. And, so like, we can be out in the car and would say to them about, for instance, getting a car park, like which way does your gut tell you you should go to grab a car park, and follow their gut and follow that little guidance, just with simple things, so that it will teach them when it comes to bigger decision making. So just teaching them how to test those intuitive voices, because it will start to play out in little areas of their life that we can help guide them. And even one example recently, right? So Riley has finished grade 12 and she took a gap year last year. And she said, Mum, I just feel like I really need to have a gap year. And I'm just going to work. So she was just working in fast food for a year. And at the beginning of last year, I said, that's fine, take as much time as you need within reason, until you kind of figure out what you want to do, because they've been in school for such a long time and everybody's different. I think some kids can come out of school and know exactly what they want to do, and that's great. And other kids might need a little bit of time. They might need a little bit of experience to kind of figure out their path. I didn't figure out my path until after I had kids, to be honest. And when I say figure out my path, everything over those years leads to your path anyway. But it wasn't until I got older and the kids were kind of in school that I started to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. So I never want to put this pressure on them from 17, 18 years of age, that what you choose to do is going to be, if you invest 4 years at uni, that's going to play out for your path for the rest of your life, because we all change, and one experience of a certain time in your life will then give you another experience and play out into another experience and lead you to where you need to go. And all of those things build you in the process. So I'm not about to turn around to the kids and go, okay, you have to have it all figured out at 18. I didn't. No one does. It's just part of navigating your way through life. So anyway, she said she wanted a bit of a gap year, and I said, that's fine. And so she intuitively knew she needed that, had a bit of fun, with her friends, did a little bit of holidaying, and was really living her best life. And then we went to, at the end of the year, we went traveling around the islands of Bali and Bali for 3 weeks. And she hit a point, she goes, I'm ready now for a grown-up job. I'm ready. And so she knew within herself that she was ready to move on to something else. And a job opportunity aligned, and she went for it. It was a corporate job, and she wanted to apply for it. She said, I don't have every single bit of experience that they're asking for. And I said, that's okay, because what you have the most amazing people skills. You've got leadership from that role that you've been in last year. You've been put in that leadership role. You have got amazing organization, and, there are so many amazing qualities that you have just by all the things that we've taught you over the years, Riley. You're really mature and you're wise for your age. You are so incredibly good with people, and you're intuitive and you're wise. I think you just need to go for it, because all of those things, you might not have every single thing that they're asking for, but you make up for it in all of these other areas, and you're a fast learner, and you make sure that you share that you're a really fast learner, and you'll pick everything up, because you pick it up like lightning speed. You'll be fine. And so she had this vision of what she wanted. She come back from the interview and she was like, I love them. They are such a beautiful group of people. I feel really comfortable. I feel really good about this. And even when she was going into the interview, and I said to her, when you're going into something like that, you're always looking at things like a mutual transaction, like this mutual exchange of energy. What can I get out of this job? Why do I want it? But what can I give as well? And you always look at everything. I've looked at that with, the sale of a beach apartment that we had, this is what I would like, this is the price I would like, but I would really like, a beautiful family or person that needs it. It's got to be good for them too. So always looking at this exchange of what's mutually beneficial for both of us. And I spoke to her about that, and I said, they'll be glad, they'll be so grateful to have you, and you will learn so much. And she said, I really want it. I really feel good. And I said, well, you visualize all the things, imagine that you've already got the job, visualize what you would be doing in there every single day, visualize the team that you would be working with, visualize the new the way that you would be feeling by having this corporate role. Like, visualize everything that you want, put it out there, and the job's yours, babe. Like, you will totally get it. And she did all the things, and she come back after the interview and she goes, I really love them. I've got a really good feeling about this. And I said, that's great. Like, keep connecting in with that intuition. If it feels right from you, trust in yourself that it's yours and it's meant to be. And if it's not meant to be, that's okay. You will find something that's right for you. And she did all the things, and she got it straight away, which was amazing. I was so happy for her to have that play out. And I look back at the last how the last 18 months have unfolded for her, and I've watched how she's just followed her intuition and how things have aligned quite effortlessly for her, in terms of she hasn't done what her friends are doing. She hasn't done what we have necessarily said, you need to do this, or put pressure on her. We gave her the space to figure it out herself, and we gave her the support and said, do what's right for you. And she did, and it was a really great lesson for her to step into her power and for her to see how she can do what aligns with, for herself. But then there's also times where, and we've had to teach the kids as well, like, what happens when you go against your gut, or what happens when sometimes things happen for a lesson for your higher good. Brock went for his driver's license recently, and at the beginning, he said to me, Mum, can you put out there that I'm going to get my license today? So I know, even though they give me a hard time and go, oh, where was the universe on that one? Or you and your universe, like, they give me a hard time about different things. I know when it counts that they do have this faith in themselves, and that they do have this belief that maybe this stuff works. And even if they don't fully believe it yet, they're playing with it, and they're having this curiosity, and they're experimenting, and they're just kind of learning, which is great. I look back to when I was their age, and I didn't think like that, so I can't expect them to have all of my 45-year-old experience bottled up into their 17, 19-year-old experience. Even though we want to give it to them, we want to protect them, we want to fast track things for them. Sometimes I have to step back and go, hang on, they're just 17 or 19. I've got a lot more wisdom, but I can just drip feed them a little bit of information over the time that is going to get stronger and stronger for them. And Brock went for his license, and he's like, Mum, can you put it out there for me that I get it? And I said to him, I can, but you need to do it for yourself too. You need to have the faith in yourself. You need to visualize, like, yourself getting it and how you're going to feel. I said, but what I am putting out there as a mother is, and I told him this afterwards, I didn't tell him at the time. I said, like, my biggest desire is they're safe. When they're safe on the roads, that they're safe in the cars with their friends, that they keep their friends safe. They're, like, everybody's safe when they're driving. That is my number one priority. And even if it takes a little bit longer, that's okay. I just want to know that they're safe. And he didn't get his license the first time, and he got the shits with me, and he's like, it didn't work. You were supposed to put it out there. It didn't work. And I said, mate, that's okay. I said, but sometimes it might take you a little bit of time. Sometimes it might take a few goes, because you need the experience. And like, I thought in myself, teenage boys can sometimes be cocky. As much as I want to have the faith in them, sometimes they're still teenage boys, right? And they can still be that little bit reckless, or they can still be, like, they can. I just believed he needed more time, right? And I thought, if it's going to take him more time, that is fine. And he didn't get it. And I said to the second time, I said, if you don't get it, that's okay. He didn't get it the second time, and we were talking about it, and he said that, I said to him, I said, mate, I've been right from the beginning, I just kept getting the number 3. I don't know if it's going to take you 3 goes. I don't know if you're going to get it on the 3rd go, if you're going to fail 3 times and get it on the 4th. I don't know. I just kept getting the number 3. And you have to really believe in yourself. And for him, I think it took him a little bit of a process, and he was going for his manual license, and and there's this little bit of kind of ego between the kids. Well, my sister got it on my first go, I need to get it straight away. And there was that, well, she went for her auto and I just went, I'm going for my manual, it's harder. And I believe that with him, he needed a little bit more experience. He needed a bit more awareness. He needed to try a bit harder. He needed a little bit more focus to make him a better driver. And yeah, it cost a little bit more money. It took a little bit more time. It had to develop his patience. And then when he got it, it was just the best feeling for him ever. And so there's lessons in, learning to trust your intuition. There's lessons of what's for my highest good as a teen, and they're going to go through this all the time. And I think as a parent, we need to really try and teach them the power of trusting in themselves, of listening to their own inner voice, teaching them the power to know that they have got everything that they need within, like this internal guidance system, so that they don't need to rely on their friends. They don't need to rely on technology. They don't need to rely on all these exterior things outside of themselves. They need to come back within, and they need to learn to trust in themselves, and just teaching them that this is a muscle. Your intuition is like a muscle that you are constantly strengthening. You're constantly building. It's not just going to be perfect straight away. And it's like us, we're still learning it. I'm still finding times I go against my intuition, what happens, and I'm trying to develop mine and get stronger in that trust in myself. So the more that we learn, the more we can teach that to our kids. And Riley actually said to me not so long ago, she goes, "Mum, I want to be a mum like you when I'm a parent." And I was floored. Like, I was secretly really excited, but I was like, wow, as much as they whinge and carry on and ignore you or, argue with you, all the things, to have her turn around and say that, I was like, wow, I must be doing something right. And she said, she goes, "You're not a helicopter controlling mum. You've let us figure stuff out on our own." And I'm really grateful for you, and for Dad as well. I'm really grateful for you for doing that. And I used to be more of a controlling mum when they were little. Definitely. As I grew, I had to undo some conditioning or some programming, or just look at things a little bit differently about how I am raising the kids and how things are showing up for me in my experience, teaching that to the kids. So I had to let go of a lot of control and a lot of perfectionism about being the perfect mum and having my kids perfect. And when I gave them a little bit more grace and a little bit more freedom and a little bit more I guess that just trust that they need to make some mistakes, and that's okay. I can't have everything perfect and protect them and want to fast track everything for them all the time as much as we want to. They need to figure some things out for themselves. And I've always, for a very long time, I've said to the kids, figure it out. What do you think you should do? You figure it out. And not in a I can't be bothered kind of way, but you need to trust in yourself a little bit and what's coming up for you. And I believe that our job is to guide them. It's to equip them, because our kids come through us, but they're not ours to keep. They're here for their own soul journey. And I remember when I was pregnant with Riley, and my mum said to me, she goes, "Lise, when I was pregnant with you," I mean, this is 45 years ago that this doctor told her this, but she said, "When I was pregnant with you, the doctor said to me, like, our kids are on loan, our partner's forever, and our kids are on loan." And that has always stuck with me, that my mum said that to me when I was pregnant with Riley. Our kids are on loan, like they're not ours to keep, to control, to do everything perfect. We are here to guide them on their own soul journey, and because they're not going to be exactly like us, and we don't want them to be exactly like us. We want them to be happy and fulfilled in their own life and in their own decisions and with what they are doing. So I think it's really powerful for us to instill this gift of intuition and instill this gift of learning to trust in themselves, because they are going to have to learn how to navigate their way through life. And if they know that they've got this internal guidance system that can help them along the path, that can maybe lead them to opportunities or relationships or abundance, or steer them clear from things that might not be for their highest good, isn't that a great gift to give to your kids? And it's not the kind of things that they're going to pick up in school. It's not the kind of things that they are going to go, and it's not being taught through the generations, but there's a shift happening where we're going more into our own soul. We're learning to get more connected to spirit. We're learning to, I think sometimes we can be so overwhelmed and bombarded with everything in social media and technology and everything going on around us that it can be so mind-boggling. And if we can teach the kids to listen to their heart more than their head, we're doing them a massive favor. But it comes back to us learning to listen to our heart and us learning to trust in ourselves as well. And if you feel like you don't trust in your intuition enough, or this is a new journey for you, that's okay. It's great that you're having awareness. It just starts with awareness, because I didn't know all this when I was a new mum. I say to Riley sometimes, I'm going to be an epic grandmother. Like, I've got so much wisdom to instill in your kids. And because we don't know all these things. It's trial. It's trial and error. It's experience. And we learn along the way. So if you feel you're still developing your intuition, and you will be, I am, it's something we're going to develop and keep strengthening until the day we die, right? Like, it's not something that just we arrive at. It's a constant process of strengthening, having awareness. And one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself is, if you don't know where to start by taking time in quiet, learning to just be, whether it's coming into a class and having those 10 minutes at the end of class. I had a client say to me yesterday, she goes, you have no idea how much I need this 10 minutes at the end of class. I just never stop. And it's the environment that allows me to stop and to just be, and I'm falling in love with it. And that's the thing, just experimenting what feels good for you. It could be a mindful nature walk. It could be just going for a mindful swim. It could be sitting in meditation. It could be just free journaling and seeing what comes up for you. It can just be pausing and breathing. But intuition gets strengthened from being still and from just learning to connect within a little bit and notice what happens when you follow your gut. What happens when you go against it? Where do you get this inspiration from? What happens when you're busy in life and you're running 100 miles an hour? Are you getting guidance? Are you getting intuitive thoughts, or are you blocked? Versus the times when you're a little bit more peaceful. So just starting to have this awareness and just knowing that it's going to get stronger. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more you can give these gifts of wisdom to your kids, because your intuition, my friends, is a superpower. It's your superpower. It's their superpower. So how can we instill more of that superpower gift of intuition into these younger generations and into ourselves? I will leave that with you. And if you have any, I always love to hear from you guys. Like, I've got this Facebook group, Earthy Angels Connect, where you can jump in and we share, because we've got this group of like-minded people, and it's great to share from different experience as well. So I will leave that with you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, angels, and I will chat with you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode and want more, feel free to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you listen to. You can also head over to earthyangels.com or join our private Facebook group, Earthy Angels Connect, for more community, blogs, updates, inspo, motivation, support, and to connect with a tribe of like-minded souls. And if you have a moment, we would be super grateful if you would love to leave a review. Sending you so much light and love, Angel.